At this point, the Z-axis really just needs the smooth rods set in place here. And if yours press fit really nice and snug, that's great. But chances are you're going to need to put a screw in a nut here, because see how I have a little bit of movement here? That's going to help snug that up. Now again, everybody's might be a little different, but in this case, I'm going to walk you through putting screws here. I recommend them even if you don't have a lot of movement, because you might in the future. So anyways, this is kind of a tricky one here, because depending on if you want to have it easy to tighten it up in the future, you don't want to use thread locker, but I'm of the mindset that if I get it nice and snug now, I want it thread locked and just be done with it. So I'm gonna put thread locker on this. What I've got here is 2 hex nuts. One's gonna go in each of these spots here, and the screw comes in from these openings on the side. Now I'm using a 22 millimeter back here, because the way this is designed, if you look through that hole, you'll notice that this screw is actually what this head catches on. So 22 fits that distance because it's catching on the body of this screw. Down here, it has like an indented opening, and it just feeds through that 16 millimeter, makes this distance. So the hardest part is putting the screw through and catching it with a nut, and it really doesn't do any good to have these metal rods floating around. So the best way to do this is actually to just put the screws through and attach the nuts, and then just put the metal rods in and then tighten it down. So you can do this 2 ways. You can put thread locker onto the screw, or you can put thread locker into the nut if you want to thread lock yours. If you don't want to, just skip it. I like the idea of putting thread locker on the nut because this is going through such a large distance of plastic that I just don't want to rub off all the thread locker before it actually has any purpose. So I'm putting the 22 millimeter in the back, and all I'm doing is I'm bringing it forward enough to just see it sort of start to poke through at the far end here. So that's all I'm really looking for, is where I can see that the end of that screw is visible in this spot here. So you might not see it in the video, maybe you will. But I just need to get it through just enough so that I can get a nut in there. So it is now through a tiny bit. So tipping it for the camera a little bit, just the tiniest bit. You might be able to see it there. Same idea on this end is I'm going to go ahead and do the same here. Send this through. Now this one is a much shorter distance and a little more fluid because it doesn't have the body of another screw that it's rubbing up against there. So anyways, tighten that one through till you just see just the tiniest bit of it. Okay, so I can see just the tiny bit of it. Now this part is going to take you a couple tries. So all you're going to do is you're going to put thread locker inside of a nut. All right, and just a dab. Like I think I got a little too much there because it's like swimming in it. But anyways, you're going to basically drop it in here and kind of fish around with that screw till you actually land on that nut. So mine kind of caught, right? And you know, I've got a grip on it, but it's kind of spinning free, and that's okay. Whenever it comes time to tighten it for real, because I have a grip on it, I'm gonna wedge it in there with a screwdriver like this and turn. But I don't need to do that because I'm doing that after I put the metal rod in. So you're gonna do the same thing up here, but I'm just gonna finish it for this one up front so you have the process, and then you'll be able to do the other side yourself. So this has not been properly tightened down. I've got the screw hooked on the nut. The nut's loaded with thread locker, and now I just need to kind of wedge this with a little, like this is just a tiny little screwdriver. I just need to wedge it so that the nut doesn't spin, and then I'm just going to tighten this down. Now it might, you know, because if it's gripping the plastic, it might be a little bit of a job to get it to, you know, properly thread on that nut. Lost a bit of my screwdriver. Well, let's not worry about that. Take a look at this. Now I'm very snug up here. This has a little bit of give. I didn't go crazy on it, but that's what you're aiming for. So I'm gonna get the other one here. I'll show you how nicely this all firms up. But that's the intent, is get the nut in there. You're gonna have to pin it in place with a screwdriver, and you know, you're gonna add this and then tighten down. Don't tighten down until you add this in here, because you don't wanna make this hole something that you then over flex when you add the metal rod. So go ahead and do that. I'll jump ahead and show you the finished way it looks.